Hello and welcome to Next Gen App Tech. I am Anand. Today we'll be going through the topic of namespaces in C#. So what is a namespace? Namespace is a way to associate classes, not only classes, interfaces, delegates, enums, structs. So all those things we can group into one package, and that group is we are not doing logically, we are not doing physically. Actually, we are doing logically. So we are not doing physically. What I mean is that we are not making any particular file or physical file, and we are storing all those classes and interfaces at one place. Actually, we are just grouping logically so that we can access those classes with the help of that namespace. So that is namespaces. So it's just a grouping classes, interfaces, delegates logically, and it can be nested as well. So we'll see just in the demo. Okay, now by default, whenever you create a console application, simple this code will be written. It will have a namespace already written, basic and class and main method. Okay, now what I'm trying to say that if why do we use namespace? So using namespace has one specific purpose, that if in a project you can have a class that you want to behave differently, like having the same class name, you want both classes behaving differently, but you want having the same name as well as you may need a class having the name which is already defined or which is already predefined or built-in classes. So what you will do so that you can use both classes? So by default, what will happen if you have a class called program, just you can see, and again you're gonna have a same class having the same name as program. So when we'll go and build the solution, so you are going to get an error that you cannot have one or two or more classes having the same name inside the same namespace. So namespace basic already contains a definition for program, so you cannot achieve that. So what if you want to have that? So what we can do, suppose I'm going to make a namespace called my namespace, and I'm going to make another okay, and in this basic namespace what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a class called my class, and in the other namespace that is called my namespace, in that also I'm going to have a class called my class. So if I'm going to build a solution, so it will be built perfectly because those two classes are in two separate namespace. So that's what it happens. So if you want to have two or more classes, not only classes, interfaces, delegates having the same name, you can achieve that just by putting into a different namespace. Okay, now how to access this class, we should also know. Suppose in this class I have a function called display, and this is just saying that my class from basic namespace. And in this function I'm going to use system dot console dot writeline, and again I'm going to use this same method inside this class as well. Right, this is a static method, so we can call this method with the help of the class name. So this is from my namespace. Right, now how to call these two methods? So these two methods are present in two different classes, but the class name is same. So you have to call the class to access this display method. So to access this class, what you're going to do is you just simply write my class. So this my class, as you are calling or you are using or you are accessing the class from inside this current namespace. Your current namespace is basic, so simply you can write the class name and dot display, and it's going to display your and it's going to call this method. So if you hover your mouse, you can see that the fully name or fully qualified name, as we say, fully qualified name of a class is namespace and then delimited by dot operator and then the class name. So you can see that basic dot my class, it is showing in IntelliSense is showing. Okay, showing. And now if you want to call this method, so how are you going to call? You have to write the fully qualified name, that is my namespace dot, and then you have to write my class. So as you can see that, okay, and now if I will write display method, so what will happen if I'll hover over the mouse, we can see that, okay, this my class is, it is saying that IntelliSense is saying that its fully qualified name is my namespace dot my class. So with the help of the namespace and dot operator, we can access not only classes or all the types, classes, interfaces or delegates present in that particular namespace. So you can see that both messages are printed, my class basic and my class my namespace. Right. So fully qualified name of a class or other type is namespace dot class name. It is not required to have namespace in our program, but to avoid any conflict, if the same class name exists within a project, then we need to use it. So to avoid any conflict, we just need to separate the types, that is, classes or interfaces having the same name. That's why we say we are associating a group of classes, interfaces or delegates logically, not physically. And in particular namespace, we can have only unique type name. Just we saw that if you try to have two classes having the same name, then it is going to throw us a compile time error. And generally the accepted format is company name dot project name dot section name. So if you are having a company, so in your company, you can, in that company might be or must be more than one project must be running. So if you want, if you are creating or developing an application, then it is recommended that you should use the namespace as your company name and then dot the project name, and inside your project you may have a different sections or different sub teams that is performing separate actions or functions. So for that you just use that section name, so that for other developers it will be very easy to see, okay, this this application comes under this project, comes under this company, and comes under this section. Okay, now the second point and the very most important point is that it is not related to assembly. So namespaces are not at all related to assembly. So if you are getting confused that, okay, in an assembly we can have only one namespace, so that is not true. In a namespace we can have in an assembly we can have more than one namespaces, and also we can have the same namespace in different assemblies. So we'll see just how it is going to happen. Okay, before that, what I'm going to show you is that in our reference node we are having these references, that Microsoft.C#, system, system.code, system.data. So this console class is residing under system namespace. So to access this class, I have to use fully qualified name of this class, that is namespace dot class name. So what if, so if we are using again console.writeLine suppose, or console.read, so every time as we can see we have to use the fully qualified name. So what if we want to avoid writing each time the namespace? So what we can do, at the start of a file we can just import that namespace. If that assembly is residing in our reference node, then we can import that namespace, as simple as it is. So we can write using system. So if you write using system, then this is not required at all. We can simply write console, or we can simply access console class. So if we are using the using keyword, so if we are importing that namespace into our file, physical file, then we need not to write every time the fully qualified name of the classes. So all the classes or interfaces or delegates present in that system, so that can be accessed at that particular namespace level. Okay, fine. Now we were saying that we can have multiple namespaces inside an assembly. So this is our application. It is an assembly is generated when the application is built. So as you can see that, okay, I have a namespace called basic, as well as I have a namespace called my namespace. So we can have more than one namespaces inside an assembly, and also we can have the same namespace in multiple assembly. So suppose I am going to create a project, a class library project. This will create a .dll file. So in this I am going to have class library 1. So I'm just going to create that. So this will again create an assembly. In this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to name that the same my namespace. So I'm going just to copy this namespace, my namespace. I'm going to write here like this. Fine. Now what is going to happen? Now I'm going to write public class my class 1. Correct. So this namespace is residing inside this class library, and it is having a class called my class 1. Now in this our solution, in our current project, I'm going to add the reference of this class library simply by right clicking add reference. So once we just select this class library, so this reference is added, as you can see, class library 1. Now in our program, if we'll now what will happen, so you can say that okay, inside this class library I have a namespace called my namespace, and in our program as well I have a namespace called my namespace. So this namespace is already present and one more namespace is just got added. So what will happen now? So what will happen, both the classes, or not only classes, all the types present in both the namespace will get merged and will get packaged into a single namespace. So if you will write like this, my class dot, so you can say that okay, my class 1, you can also access this. As you can see that I am able to see my class as well as my class 1. So that is possible. So that happens like that. If you are adding a reference or you are adding assembly into your project or into your application, so if that is in that assembly, if you are having a namespace, and in your current application also you are having the same namespace, then all the types present in that will get merged. And you can also ask one question that okay, what will happen if like if I'm having two assemblies, I'm using two assemblies and both are containing the same namespace, so what will happen? So it will again merge both, and if it is having a same class name, then a conflict will arise. Okay. And in your current application, if you are having a class called my class, and in that assembly that we are importing, such as class library, in that also you are having my class having the same namespace, that is my namespace, then what will happen? Then your class will take higher precedence and it will not show us any conflict, just that we can use our current class name, right? So we can say that okay, we can have multiple we can have same namespace in different assemblies. Now with using keyword, we can refer to the types in the namespace simply by their type name throughout the file. So just we saw that instead of using each type system, I just have to import that namespace with the using keyword, so that the next time I don't have to use the fully qualified name for console class. I just have to write console dot and I am just able to access the methods in that console class. So you can see that in the if you are hovering over the mouse over this console class, then you can see that okay, its fully qualified name is system.console, but you don't have to type system every time because you have used already using keyword and imported the namespace. If two namespace we have the same type name, then to avoid confusion for compiler, we have to use fully qualified name while using inside the file. So like you have a namespace called already my namespace, inside you have a class called my class, and you have a basic namespace, and you are using this my class again. So what will happen if I will type again using my namespace? Now what will happen, it is going to throw me an error that if I will write like simply, if I'm going to have okay my namespace, and I'm going to have another namespace as my namespace 1, and in this I'm going to have a class called my class. So we have two namespace, my namespace and my namespace 1, and in this I'm importing my namespace as well as my namespace 1. Fine. So what's going to happen is, if I'm going to use the my class, so if I'm going to use my class, then it is going to throw me an error. So it is not going to throw me an error. Why? Because this class is already defined inside. So this, if I just remove this, Now see what's going to happen. So you can see error symbol or a warning or error symbol is coming, that ambiguous name, choose from the following. So if you are importing two different namespaces, and in both namespaces you are having a same class name, so compiler will have ambiguity to decide which class you want actually to access. So it will not be able to decide. For that, what you have to do, you have to use at that time fully qualified name. So you just have to write my class, my namespace. If you want to use my class of my namespace, then you have to write like this. Or if you want to use my class of my namespace 1, then you have to use the fully qualified name. So to avoid confusion for compiler, we have to use fully qualified name while using inside the file. A using directive does not give us access to any namespaces that are nested in the namespace we specify. So what does this mean? So you can have a namespace. Suppose you are having, I'll just remove this. So you are having a namespace called my namespace, and inside that namespace you can have another namespace. So I can have another namespace, my nested. Inside that you can have another class called, suppose, my nested class. So whenever you are importing this my namespace, so whenever you are importing this, then at the level of this my namespace you will be able to access all the types, like all the classes, interfaces, delegates, enums, structs, but not all those classes which are inside the nested namespace or the child namespace. So inside this namespace you are having another namespace, and inside that you are having another class. So you will not be able to access this just by using import keyword. So for that you have to import my nested as well, separately or explicitly. So you just write my namespace dot, and then I have to import this as well. Okay, you can see this in the example, like I am using system. So if I am using, suppose, array list, so I am not able to access this class. Why I am not able to access this class? Because this class is residing under system.collections namespace, and system.collection namespace is residing under the system namespace. But using the system using this statement, importing system namespace, I am not able to use this array list. For that I have to explicitly write, okay, system.collections, and then array list will be available for us. So that's what it means. Fine. A using directive does not give us access to any namespace that are nested in the namespace we specify. Okay, now this is very important point. The compiler adds a default namespace irrespective of whether we add a namespace or not in our C# source file. So what happens, that the giving namespace is not compulsory. I said in the earlier that even if we don't provide a namespace, so that is totally fine. So how this is fine? Suppose if I am not giving any namespace, I am just going to have a class called my class, suppose public class my class, right? And inside this current namespace I am going to have again a class called public class my class. Just a second, right? So whenever I want to or if I will type my class, so I am able to access this class, basic.myClass. What if I want to access this class? This class is not residing in any namespace. So if I want to use, then how will I use it? So by default, C# compiler does what? It adds a default namespace in every file. In every .cs file, it adds a namespace, and those classes or types which is not residing under any namespace directly, that comes under that default namespace. That default namespace is called as global namespace. So to like, even if this class, suppose this program and this my class is residing under basic namespace, but this namespace, basic namespace, is residing under the global namespace that is added by default by the compiler. The similar way, this system namespace is residing under the global namespace. So how to access those types, those classes, or those namespaces which are residing under the global namespace, or for which there is no any parent namespace for those types. So how I'm going to access this class? I just have to type global keyword and then I have to give double colon. So as soon as I put the double colon, so you can see that this list of namespace and this my class. So this my class, I am able to access this. So like this I can access. So if I will just have a function called my static void display, in this I am going to write some message, hello from outer class, hello from outer global class, for example. So if I will just call this function, so I can see the result. That will have not a problem. If I'll go ahead and run the program, then it is going to give me that output. In this way I can access that class that is residing under the global namespace by default, which by default C# compiler adds that. So the help, what's the benefit of this? I can give you another example, right? For example, I'm using this system namespace. So system namespace, I'm able to use the class present inside the system namespace. So I just have to write console.read like this. Correct, that's fine. So what if in this current class I'm going to have a constant, public constant of type integer, and I'm going to have a name as console equals to some value. Fine. Now you can see that if I'm going to use console, so by default this constant is picking and I'm able to use a constant because this console constant is overriding the console class which is residing under the system namespace. So how to use that? So for that you just have to use fully qualified name, that system dot console. In that case you have to use like that. Now again there is a twist. What if I'll make this class name as system and if then I will try to write system, then what will happen? This system will refer to this particular class. It will not refer to the system namespace that we are using. So we cannot have this. So for that, if I want to use the system.console class, or if I want to access system namespace, for that I have to write global keyword again and double colon, and then I can access the system namespace, and then I can simply access the console class residing in that system namespace, and I can use simply like this. So it is totally fine. Again for here as well I have to write global keyword and then console.read, system.console.read. So that is totally fine for us. Okay. Okay, and this unnamed namespace sometimes referred to as a global namespace that is present in every file. And anything or any identifier or any type, suppose classes, present in the global namespace is available for use in a named namespace. So this is a named namespace. From this I am able to access this class which is residing under the global namespace. And namespace is public implicitly, and we cannot modify this access modifier because this has to be public. This doesn't make sense that if I'm making a namespace private, so how can somebody use that? So by default the access modifier of namespace is public. We'll look more into access modifier in our later video session. For just now it is used to access the thing, to provide the access the thing. Not only classes, access for classes, for properties, for methods, for variables, that is field members, we use access modifier. So by default it is public for namespace so that it can be accessed from anywhere inside your application. So if you try to put a public modifier explicitly, then it is going to give you an error that namespace declaration cannot have modifiers or attributes. We'll see attributes in our later video session. And we can have the same namespace defined partially, that is in two or more declaration. Right, what does this mean? So I have inside this project, I have another class called my class, right? Okay, this class1.cs. So this is another physical file. In that again I have used class called my namespace, right? And I have used a class called class1 inside the my namespace. So in our this program.cs file, I'm going to use namespace having the same name, my namespace. Inside this I'm going to use class called my class. So inside the namespace, this my namespace, I am having a my class, and this namespace is closed here with the closing braces. So you can see that okay, the scope of namespace finishes here, but it's not like that. Even in a separate file, I'm using the same name as my namespace, and I'm declaring a class called my class 1. Fine. So I am declaring a class called my class 1. Sorry, I'm declaring a class called class 1 inside this file, and here as well I'm going to declare a class called my class. So whenever if I try to use that my namespace dot, so you can see that okay, class 1 as well as my class both is accessible, and my class 1 is accessible. Why? Because this is coming from this file, this class or this class library. So all three classes are accessible, or it looks like all three classes is residing under the same namespace, even though those classes are defined separately in a separate file and under the separate namespace declaration, but having the same name. So even in this file program.cs, you have created namespace and have class name called my class. Even in my class class1.cs, you are having a class called my class1, and class1.cs you are having a class called class1, and all three are having same namespace as my namespace. So whenever you are using at any place, then it will look like okay, all these three classes are grouped together inside a single namespace. So that's why we say that namespace are associated logically, not physically. Irrespective of physically, it is just associated or grouped or packaged logically. So we can have the same namespace defined partially, that is in two or more declaration. Now we can also use we can also create an alias of namespace with using keyword as using alias name equals to namespace. So what does this means? What does this mean? Okay, what does this mean? I'm going to remove this first. Fine, and I'm going to remove this as well. Okay, now I am having a namespace called my namespace. So I'm just using that namespace, my namespace, importing that namespace. So I can simply access that namespace, my namespace dot something, or I can simply access the classes present inside that namespace, my class. Okay, I'm going to remove this class as well in the current namespace. Okay, now if I I can use an alias for this namespace as well. So suppose what happens in real time, your namespace, the length of the namespace is not small, so it's like names, company name dot project name dot section name, so that makes quite a long namespace declaration. So you, instead of using that much long declaration, so you can do what, you can simply write an alias. Suppose I am using an alias mn equals to this. So if I am going to give an mn, the name of this namespace as mn, so instead of writing my namespace, I can simply write mn dot. So I am able to access that. So what does this mean? Like, what is the actual use of this. So what's the actual use of this? Suppose for example you are importing two different namespaces. Fine, if you are importing two different namespaces and then both namespaces are quite long, the length of the namespaces is quite long, and inside both of the namespaces you are having a same class name. So distinguish between that, just we read earlier, to distinguish between those classes we have to use fully qualified name. So for such a large namespace, length of the name of the namespace, we have to use every time like that. So to shorten that thing, we can use an alias. So we can use a short name as an alias, and wherever I'm going to use fully qualified name of those classes, I just can write the alias name and dot whatever the types of classes or interfaces present in that particular namespace. So that's the main example or main use of alias. Okay, while using the alias, we can use namespace alias qualifier, as a conflict can arise if alias name matches any of the types name or classes name inside current namespace. So what does this mean? Okay, now I am having a namespace called my namespace. Inside this I am going to have a class called my class. That's fine. Now inside this current namespace I want to access this class from this place, and this place is inside this namespace basic. So that is basic is our current namespace. Okay, now inside this namespace I'm going to have, by chance, suppose I'm going to have a class called my class. So this type name is same as this type name inside this. So what will happen if I'm going to use this? Suppose actually the name of this class name is suppose mn, not my class, mn. So this name of this alias is same as the type name of the type in the current namespace. That's what this point is saying. As a conflict can arise if alias name matches any of the type or any of the classes name inside current namespace. So this is our current namespace basic, and this is our alias name mn. So by chance, if in our current namespace we can have a class name mn that will match with the alias mn. So if I in that condition, if I want to use the mn, so if I'll write, so by default this class will be accessed. So this namespace will never be accessed. So this class will always override this alias name. So what if I want to use that? For that I need to use double colon operator. With that I can access this alias, and whatever the classes or interfaces or delegate present in that namespace we can access. So that's another use of double colon alias qualifier. So this alias qualifier operator enables us the alias to be referenced even if the conflict exists. So within a namespace we can have one or more of the following, that we can have another namespace, classes, interfaces, delegates, enums, structs. So we just saw that okay, we can have namespaces, and inside that namespace we can have another namespace like this. Sorry, I just have to write namespace, my namespace 1, suppose. Okay, so if I want to access this namespace, we can simply write my namespace dot, or I can also declare namespaces like this. Suppose add some other file. Suppose I'm going to add a file, .cs file. Suppose I'm going to add cs file, and in that I'm going to have a namespace called the my namespace name. So class2.cs. okay, fine. In this, what I'm going to have this namespace. I have added a class called my class 1 2, and again in this namespace I want to add another class at some other file, in some other file. So I'm just going to write like this. If I will try to write like this, my namespace 1, simply like this, so this will not come under that namespace, my namespace 1. because this my namespace 1 is residing under this my namespace. My namespace 1 is residing under this namespace. So if I want to add more classes inside this namespace, so I have to use my namespace dot, and then I have to write my namespace 1 like this. So if I'll write like this, so what will happen? So this my class 1 2 will be present inside my namespace 1, and my class 1 2 1 3 will be present in my namespace 1. So we can achieve like this as well. So if I'll go ahead and try to access my namespace dot my namespace 1, so we can see that inside this my namespace 1 we'll have two classes, class 1 2 and class 1 3. So if we'll not write like this here, if we'll simply like my namespace 1, so what will happen if I'll try to access this my namespace 1, so this will have only a single class called class 1 3, because it will be a separate namespace. That this my namespace 1 I just declared here, it will be a separate namespace from this my namespace 1, because this my namespace 1 is residing under this my namespace, and this my namespace 1 is not residing under any namespace, so it will be just a completely different namespace from this namespace. So if I write like my namespace dot my namespace 1, so this will have only one class, my class 1 2. Why? Because my class 1 2 is declared and defined in this hierarchy, and here class 1 3 is not defined in the same hierarchy, that is my namespace dot my namespace 1. So for that I have to write like this. Then if I'll go ahead and try to see, then we can see that it is I am able to have the two classes, because in this I have declared in the same hierarchy. So we can have more of the followings. So thanks for watching the video. If you find any error in this video session, or if you have any questions or suggestions related to it, please feel free to write in the comment section below. Suggestions are always welcome. You can also download this PPT or presentation by clicking on the link given in the description below the video. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.